What if I told you the commercial nursery industry has been setting you up to fail? You walk into a local garden center, buy an apple or peach tree bred for the mild winters of California or Europe, and watch it die in your first January deep freeze. You have been told your climate is simply too harsh for an abundant fruit harvest. But what if the problem is not your property? And what if the problem is that nobody told you about the genetics that actually belong there? The truth is, some of the most exotic, delicious, and nutrient-dense fruits on Earth evolved in places where the ground freezes solid for half the year. Stick around, because tree number 1 on this list is an expensive superfood you currently buy dried at the grocery store, completely unaware that it would happily survive a blizzard in your own backyard. Here are 7 fruit trees that grow in extreme cold that nobody plants, starting right now. Welcome to Botanical Bounty, where we dig up the resilient, forgotten plants that modern agriculture left behind. If you're tired of being told your cold climate is a curse and you want an abundant harvest, you are in the right place. Subscribe to Botanical Bounty right now and tell me in the comments what hardiness zone you garden in. Now let us get into this list, ranked from garden-worthy to absolutely game-changing. Every northern gardener has dreamed of plucking a warm, sun-ripened apricot straight from the branch, and almost every northern gardener has watched standard apricot trees freeze to the roots. But the Manchurian Bush Apricot changes the rules entirely. Here's what makes this tree a miracle for cold climate growers. Native to the punishing, windswept steppes of northeastern Asia, this rugged survivor evolved to handle Zone 3 winters, shrugging off temperatures that plummet to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. While Mediterranean apricots perish in the cold, this tree thrives. It grows as a naturally dwarfed, spreading tree, usually topping out around 10 to 15 feet. In early spring, before the leaves even emerge, the branches are smothered in stunning pink and white blossoms. The fruit it produces is slightly smaller than a grocery store apricot, but it packs an intense, sweet-tart punch that is perfect for fresh eating, drying, or turning into world-class preserves. Why does nobody plant it? Because early warm spells can trick the tree into blooming before the final frost. The secret that old-time northern orchardists know is to plant the Manchurian apricot on the north side of a building or a slope. This keeps the soil colder for longer in the spring, delaying the bloom until the danger of frost has passed. For anyone who assumed stone fruit required a mild climate, the Manchurian Bush Apricot proves that you can have your northern harvest and eat it too. When you think of kiwis, you picture tropical climates, warm breezes, and fuzzy brown skins. You do not picture a vine surviving 3 feet of snow and sub-zero wind chills. But the hardy kiwi berry is here to shatter everything you thought you knew about tropical fruit. Here is what makes the hardy kiwi berry an absolute must-have for extreme cold. Surviving reliably down to Zone 3 and temperatures of minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit, this aggressive vine produces fruit that tastes even sweeter and more complex than the tropical kiwis you buy at the store. And the best part? They have no fuzzy skin. They are smooth, grape-sized berries that you pluck off the vine and pop right into your mouth. The hardy kiwi berry is native to northern Asia and the Russian Far East. To get fruit, you need to understand one crucial rule. These plants are dioecious. That means you need at least 1 male plant to pollinate up to 6 female plants. They are also incredibly vigorous. Do not plant them on a flimsy wire trellis. They will tear it down. They need heavy wooden posts or cattle panels to support the massive weight of the vines and the hundreds of berries they produce. For anyone who wants to shock their neighbors by pulling tropical tasting fruit out of a freezing northern garden, the hardy kiwi berry is the ultimate secret weapon. Number 5. The highbush cranberry. Do not let the name fool you. This is not the bog-dwelling, creeping vine that commercial cranberries come from. The highbush cranberry is actually a member of the viburnum family, and it is one of the toughest, most cold-resilient fruiting shrubs on the North American continent. Here is what makes the highbush cranberry invaluable for the extreme northern homestead. It survives Zone 2 winters. Let me repeat that. Zone 2. It will handle minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit without dropping a single branch. Growing 8 to 12 feet tall, this massive shrub creates an excellent privacy hedge, while doubling as a food source. In the spring, it is covered in large, lace-cap white flowers. By late summer, it produces heavy, drooping clusters of bright red berries. But here's the secret to the highbush cranberry. You do not pick them in the summer. If you eat them early, they are intensely sour. These berries are designed by nature to hang on the branches straight through the freezing winter. The heavy frosts actually soften the fruit and mellow the astringency. Pioneers and indigenous peoples use these berries extensively because they are loaded with natural pectin. They make brilliant, jewel-toned jellies and rich sauces that rival any store-bought cranberry sauce. For anyone who wants a plant that demands zero maintenance, survives minus 50 degrees, and holds its fruit above the snow line for winter harvesting, the highbush cranberry is an absolute powerhouse. When you have terrible sandy soil, howling winter winds, and brutal cold, most fruit trees simply give up. But the beach plum evolved specifically to conquer the absolute worst conditions nature can throw at it. Here is what makes the beach plum a miracle for marginal land. Native to the brutal, wind-blasted coastal dunes of the northeastern United States, this shrubby tree handles Zone 3 cold with ease. It thrives in poor, sandy, rocky soils where standard fruit trees would starve. It handles salt spray, drought, and utter neglect. The tree grows 6 to 10 feet tall and produces an absolute explosion of snow-white blossoms in the spring. By late summer, the branches are weighed down by thousands of small, dark purple or blue plums. While they can be eaten fresh, their true magic is unlocked in the kitchen. Beach plums have a rich, complex, almost spicy flavor profile that makes some of the most sought-after artisanal jams and cordials in the world. In specialty shops, true beach plum jam sells for a premium price. Plant 2 genetically different bushes for the best pollination, and watch them turn your most useless, barren soil into a gourmet food factory. For anyone dealing with harsh winds, poor soil, and freezing winters, the beach plum is the ultimate wasteland survivor. Before commercial agriculture homogenized our diets, the silver buffalo berry was a staple survival food for the indigenous peoples of the Great Plains and the Canadian prairies. Today, it is almost entirely forgotten, which is a tragedy for cold climate gardeners. Here is what makes the silver buffalo berry essential for the rugged homestead. Hardy to Zone 3, this native shrub acts as a fortress. It grows 10 to 15 feet tall, has striking silvery gray foliage, and is covered in formidable thorns. It forms an impenetrable hedgerow that deer despise, but its true superpower lies beneath the soil. The silver buffalo berry is a nitrogen fixer. It pulls nitrogen from the atmosphere and deposits it into the soil, acting as a living fertilizer for the plants around it. You need both a male and a female plant to get fruit. The female plants produce clusters of bright, glowing red berries in late summer. Like many extremely cold-hardy fruits, the berries are tart and slightly astringent when eaten raw. Indigenous tribes use them to make pemmican, a highly nutritious, long-lasting survival food made of dried meat, rendered fat, and crushed berries. Today, homesteaders make incredible tart jellies that pair perfectly with wild game. For anyone who wants a living, impenetrable fence that fertilizes its own soil and produces survival food in minus 40 degrees, the silver buffalo berry cannot be beaten. For thousands of years, the ancient Greeks and Romans prized the cornelian cherry. Today, it is barely a footnote in modern gardening, often mistaken for a purely ornamental shrub. But this ancient tree holds a secret that northern growers need to exploit. Here is what makes the cornelian cherry an incredible addition to a cold climate. First, it is not a cherry at all. It is a species of dogwood that thrives in Zone 4, easily shrugging off -20 to -25 degrees Fahrenheit. Second, it is one of the very first plants to wake up in the year. Long before the snow has melted, and weeks before the first spring bulbs appear, the cornelian cherry erupts in a massive cloud of brilliant yellow flowers. It provides crucial, life-saving nectar for the very first emerging pollinators of the year. The fruit it produces looks like a bright red, elongated olive. You must wait until the fruit is fully ripe, often dropping to the ground on its own, before eating. When fully ripe, it has a rich, tart flavor that tastes like a cross between a cherry and a cranberry. Because it is incredibly high in pectin and vitamin C, it makes some of the most phenomenal preserves, syrups, and fruit leathers you will ever taste. The tree is virtually immune to pests and diseases and can easily live for over 100 years. For anyone who wants an ancient, disease-free food forest staple that blooms while the snow is still falling, the cornelian cherry is a forgotten masterpiece. We have reached number 1. Walk into any high-end health food store, and you will see small bags of dried goji berries selling for astronomical prices. Because they are marketed as an exotic, anti-aging Himalayan superfood, most gardeners assume they require a delicate tropical environment. That is the biggest lie in modern horticulture. Here is what makes the goji berry the stealth crop for extreme cold climates. It is natively adapted to the brutal, freezing steppes of Asia. It does not just tolerate Zone 3 winters, it actively prefers the harsh, fluctuating conditions. It will easily survive -30 to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Goji berries grow as sprawling, vigorous shrubs. In fact, they are so tough that their biggest issue is trying to take over the garden. They thrive in alkaline, poor, and rocky soils where other berries would choke. By midsummer, the branches produce delicate purple flowers, followed by a continuous harvest of bright orange-red, teardrop-shaped berries straight through until the first heavy frost. You can eat them fresh off the bush, but they truly shine when dehydrated. Once dried, they become chewy, sweet, and slightly earthy, perfect for oatmeal, teas, and trail mixes. They are absolutely packed with antioxidants, vitamins, and trace minerals. Why pay premium prices for imported superfoods when one of the hardiest, most aggressive fruiting shrubs on Earth can grow in your freezing backyard? For anyone who wants elite-level nutrition from a plant that laughs at blizzards, the goji berry is the ultimate cold climate secret. These 7 fruit trees and shrubs survive winters that shatter standard nursery stock. They thrive in Zone 3 and Zone 2, where the ground freezes solid and the wind howls for months. Indigenous peoples, ancient Romans, and Asian nomads relied on these plants for thousands of years, long before modern catalogs told you that you could only grow apples and pears. You do not live in a climate that is too cold for fruit. You just need to stop planting delicate genetics and start planting survivors. Start with the high bush cranberry or the beach plum for ultimate hardiness. Plant the Manchurian Bush Apricot for impossible stone fruit. And plant the goji berry to grow your own expensive superfoods for pennies. Within a few years, your barren winter landscape will transform into an abundant, cold climate food forest. If this video opened your eyes to what is truly possible in the north, hit subscribe to Botanical Bounty right now. Tell me in the comments which of these 7 fruits you are going to plant first, and keep growing against the odds.